So when we first started building back in 2007, the off-grid technology wasn't really what it is today. But with the technology that's out there today, we really could live a life of luxury.
Hey, Jen Max, you just met Andy and his wife, Linda, and they live in a luxurious community. Their lifestyle, why Andy said could instead of we do, is because they live a more simple lifestyle in this beautiful area, but it's possible to really live luxury in the world of off-grid today. There's so many new amenities that have popped up in the last decade or so, and that's what they're going to talk about in this video. We're going to get a tour of their beautiful home. We're going to hear how they kind of live a slightly more modest lifestyle, I guess, more conservative lifestyle in terms of water use and things like that. And we're going to hear about their solar system. We're going to hear about the process of building this house, which takes a little bit of a turn. So why it started in 2007 and didn't get completed until 2021. So that's a good story. We'll also chat about whether they speak Spanish, feel comfortable, and safety-wise, things like that we normally cover in these videos. So if you're a person who's living in the US or Canada, thinking about moving to Mexico, you're in the right place. Let's get the story where it starts, which is before maybe 2007 or so, when they were just thinking about purchasing a lot in this community here, just outside La Paz, Mexico.
Yeah, so back in 2007, we were living in Montreal, and together with some friends of ours, we thought that it would be a great opportunity to live out here in Mexico. The original idea for this community was going to encompass things like golf courses and many other amenities, including perhaps even a marina. That didn't come to pass, but we still absolutely love the area where we're living right now.
So this community is called Maravia, and it is out by the Tecolote Beach, if you're familiar with that, with views of Tecolote and what's the other, Balandra. So just amazing. You come up the road, you're on a dirt road for a little bit, a paved road for a little bit, and then in the community, you're back on paved roads. And there's just kind of houses dotted along these paved roads. Clearly, there was meant to be more buildings in this when it was first maybe imagined back in the early 2000s. So let's hear kind of what happened after 2007.
So back in 2007, 2008, there were about 150 lots in the community. All were sold, and we all agreed to start construction within a year. We started in 2008. And then, of course, the financial crisis of 2008 hit, and that hit a lot of places around the world, including this community. So a lot of the construction sort of screeched to a halt. We ended up with a builder who, not just us, but several of us, he ran away with some of our money. We had some things that we had paid for that didn't happen. And so our house stayed kind of abandoned for almost a decade. And then at which point we decided to complete the construction. And we did complete the construction in around 2020, 2021, right around COVID time. And we absolutely love it here.
So we are going to go into detail about living off-grid, but I still want to talk a little bit more about this community. And I want to bring Linda into the conversation here and find out what happened to those other friends. They bought here with some friends. That was part of the original idea. Have those friends made it to this point where they're living here too?
So we ended up here because a really good friend of ours was friends with a real estate developer, and we decided that our best four couples, we'd buy lots together, and then the dream would be to retire here together. So Maravia was supposed to have 2 golf courses and a social center and a swimming pool and a tennis court and a doctor's office, and it was going to be wonderful. But unfortunately, life changed for our friends. One of them passed, one of them got divorced, and now we're here on our own. So
the friends didn't make it, and neither did the pool or the doctor's office or some of those amenities. This is something that happens in Mexico, especially when there's a financial crisis. This probably happens in many places, is that these developments that are early on don't work out, I guess. So, but we're going to hear a little bit further in to the story how they might would do it over, kind of, sort of. So there's going to be, this is definitely a happy ending story, but let's hear about some of the other things that made this community, how it wouldn't have been necessarily off grid, if everyone was living here. Some of the amenities that would have put it kind of sort of on the grid.
Yeah. So originally for water, a desalination plant was actually built, and it was sized to feed a couple of golf courses, all the amenities that Linda mentioned, and ostensibly about 300 homes. Unfortunately, those homes didn't get built, so that desalination plant has never been turned on. There was talk about in the future about electricity coming out this way, but the intent was at the beginning all homes would be solar powered, and we still don't have electricity out here, and we're all solar powered now, and the solar power absolutely works great. The water itself is trucked in. It's trucked into a community cistern that feeds all the homes in the development. And we all have our own individual cisterns. If there ever is, need or something like that, we have a backup cistern.
So let's talk more about being off-grid, and we'll start with water because we are in the middle of the desert. You can see if you look around here that we are in the desert, and that community cistern is just a little bit higher than us. You can see it off in the distance here. So let's hear about water usage. And this is getting into the maybe slightly less luxury, and we are going to get back to talk about some of those homes that are being built here that look like wow luxury.
We don't have to conserve water if we really don't want. We just pay for what we use. It's a metered system. But we decided that it's not an unlimited source and that we should be conscientious of the amount of water we're using in the community. We don't want to be draining the community cistern. So we choose to do things like save the water before the hot water gets there from your shower. We save it in a Home Depot bucket. We use it in the back of the toilet. We use it to wash the floors. We water the plants with it. So we choose to do that, conserve the water.
So we are here mostly in the cooler months of the year, and therefore we don't have air conditioning. And as a result of not having air conditioning, we don't need quite as large a solar system as some of the other homes that are with people here at full time that also have air conditioning. So they will have a larger system, more panels on the roof, more batteries, and potentially even generator backups. We don't have a generator backup.
Okay, talk more about the electricity that you do use.
Okay.
Are you conservative that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have enough electricity to leave the lights on at night if we want to and so on, but we choose not to because again, it's sort of the way that we choose to live. We choose to live not wasting water. We choose to live not wasting electricity. So we're pretty conscious about turning lights off at night, as an example. But that's a choice that we make, not necessarily a necessity for the system that we have.
So all of us down here are using LP for gas. So that really doesn't change whether you're living off grid. I'm not sure if any places have piped in natural gas in Mexico. So I want to switch to kind of more of the social aspects of living off grid or living further away, because we live in El Centenario, but it really is a community. La Paz has a really booming social life. So I want to hear what social life is like out here.
So we're about 25 minutes from town. So a lot of our social life exists here with our neighbors. We have amazing neighbors. We get together pretty well 5 out of 7 days down at Tecolote at one of our favorite Palapa Azul, the bar. We also get together for dinners now and again and house parties. So the community is fabulous. We have fabulous neighbors.
So one thing we were chatting about is how La Paz has changed since the beginning, since 2007. So we'll hear about that, and then we're going to take a tour of their home.
So La Paz itself has gone from a very small town that had such limited resources for retail stores. When we were first working with our first builder, we had one tile store, and all we could get was a 12 by 12 simple tile. We had one lighting store. Now we've got city clubs, we've got Walmarts, we've got Sam's, we have an amazing tile store called Interceramic, and the selection is so broad now.
So that is the perfect segue into the house tour. So let's start at the front door.
So we worked with an architect when we first bought the lot. We designed the house so that it was going to be mostly on one level for retirement purposes. So we did a huge powder room so we could have a place to store all the water bottles, and then all the beach gear and the coolers. And then we did just a living room. We didn't need a second family room or anything. It was important to us to have a really big dining room table so we could entertain. We loved having dinner parties back in Montreal, and so we wanted to continue that. And we wanted a really nice working kitchen with enough space that the two of us could be in there and also see Tecolote. In the kitchen, we had a carpenter do all the work by hand. We had to come up with the layout ourselves. We did an island so that you could see Tecolote. And then we bought a refrigerator that's an inverter. We bought a microwave that's inverter, so the power goes back into the grid, or uses less, I guess.
No, it uses less.
It uses less. The refrigerator is designed so that we have a pump that takes the bottled water from a cabinet into the refrigerator, does the ice and does the drinking water. And then we have an inverter, microwave, and propane stove. And also we have reverse osmosis, so we clean all our vegetables with the reverse, but we don't drink the reverse, even though we could. We don't drink the tap water. We buy bottled water, and we just keep a big ceramic reserve tank on the counter. So for the master bedroom, we wanted a bedroom just on the main floor in case, when we're old, we can't get around. So we designed that with lots of storage, because when it's hurricane season here, we pack up everything. Because if we ever had a window break open or anything, then nothing gets damaged. So we pack it all up. We did a little office that was supposed to be a second closet, but we decided we don't really need that many clothes here. And then we just have a main bedroom that's got a wonderful view off into Tecolote on one side and then access to the deck on the other. And we chose to do cement beds, which we think are very unusual for back home, but no bugs, and we love it. So for the main floor bathroom, the master bath, we basically did all the roughing in and the plumbing, because we were supposed to have this wonderful big bathtub with 3 big windows around to be able to look out at the gorgeous view in the sunset or whatever. But now the cost of water is just too big, so we never put the bathtub in. But we have a great walk-in shower, and I must say we had a beautiful vanity made by a carpenter all by hand, and all I had to do was give him a drawing from the Pottery Barn, and he copied it incredibly well. So halfway down the stairs is a big utility room that we've got the washer and the dryer, and the dryer works off of propane, a hot water tank, and that's where we keep all the soaps and everything else. And then when you go down into the basement, we did 2 bedrooms because we have 2 children, and we did a Jack and Jill bathroom in the middle for the 2 of them. And then we did a very large garage, and originally this was supposed to be a golf cart community. So we have a little bit of a cutout that was supposed to be for the golf cart to be stored, but then that never came to life. But it holds the car, it's got tons of storage.
And you may be wondering what all that stuff, it's not a car in the garage, but there's a bunch of stuff. So just a quick preview, that is coming up. We will explain that before the end of the video, but let's take a look at kind of a little bit more of the systems here. Let's hop up to the roof and see the solar.
So as you can see, we have 8 solar panels here, which is absolutely sufficient for our needs. Some homes have more solar panels than that. These panels are a little bit older now. They're effectively about 250 watts apiece. Today, panels are running about 450 watts. So you get a lot of performance now out of a small package. And as you look over here, this is our cistern. It's on the roof. It's really there as a backup, just in case we need it. It can always be filled from a water truck brought into the community.
And it can hold about 2 weeks worth of water. So, if there is no water truck delivery, we won't be suffering.
Okay, so let's go on to a couple of the questions that I always ask. And the first one is about speaking Spanish.
Only speak rudimentary Spanish, I guess enough to get by. I started with Babbel, and it helps. I also speak French, which helps. Some Spanish is similar to French, and some Spanish is not similar to French. But normally it helps.
So I also like to talk about safety and security.
Sure. In general, feel safe around here. I mean, I've never had any occasion not to feel safe here. We do have lots of security cameras around our home here. There is also 24-hour security on site here. But overall, in Mexico and La Paz, I've never really had any reason not to feel absolutely safe.
And we're a gated community, like Andy said. We have guards 24/7.
I think people who don't know always think that there is a little bit of risk being in Mexico. But when they come here to visit us, they realize that there really isn't a whole lot of risk.
So the way I love to wrap up videos is to ask for a tip that's perfect just for you.
When it comes to living off grid, I would not be afraid of it at all. To us, it's no different than just having electricity from your city provider. I mean, we can use all the lights we want. We've got a refrigerator. It works so well. It's extremely rare because Mexico is so full of sunshine. But last week we had 3 days in a row that were cloudy. So we had to watch our battery power. We have an app, and we just make sure we don't fall below the 15% line where we would lose all of our power. And the way the solar works, it has to come up to maybe 70% before it comes back on.
That's not true, actually. Not on this
Used to
system.
be.
Used to be, but not on this system.
That's perfect. I feel like this is an interview with me and Kat now. So going back and forth. But also I did notice that the neighbor has a generator. So on top of having solar panels, she has a generator. So these guys could always run an electric cord over and get some electrons if they needed it from her. A number of the houses here have a backup generator. A number of houses down where I live in El Centenario have backup generators too. And with the 3 days of darkness also was a big rainstorm, which knocked out power for about 18 hours. And it's really making me wish that we had solar panels on top or one of those generators. So maybe I'll do a video about that. We're thinking about putting them in Todo Santo. So you might be seeing a video about solar panels or generators, something like that. But I've got some more videos for you to watch. This is an interview or a couple interviews with folks that have made it happen. So you can follow in their footsteps. And down here is something that YouTube thinks is perfect just for you. From Maravia, just outside Tecolote Beach in La Paz, Mexico. Wish you were here. Hasta luego.